Did you guys get the recording part? This meeting's being recorded.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so that was awesome. Okay, so now let's move on to the introduction of AMBA by our awesome Vice President, Brother Muhammad Ali.
Do you actually all mind if I take a 5-minute break from Maghrib, if you don't mind?
Sure, that's totally fine.
Yeah, Maghrib time is just hit. If you don't mind, if you can just like chat and for those people who want to pray, I'll probably be 2 minutes actually, but if you don't mind.
Go ahead and pray.
Yeah, Bismillah, go ahead. For those whose time it is.
We can go pray. Or for those that are waiting, do you guys want to introduce yourselves or tell us a little bit about yourselves?
That's a great idea.
Yeah. I can start. I'm from Dallas, Texas right now, so I'm on Central Time Zone. That's something about me. What about someone else? Come on.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Kulsum Mijaz. I'm Bed-Stuy based here in Brooklyn.
Awesome.
Welcome, guys. I'm also Brooklyn based.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hello, everyone. This is Nikita. I'm from the DC area.
Awesome. Welcome, Nikita.
Assalamu everyone. My name is Mohamed Sajjad. I'm also from the DMV area, DC area. Yeah.
Salam, everybody. This is Asma Jabber. I'm in Boston. Very nice to be with you all.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Asma. I love Boston. Boston's a great city.
Yeah, it's all right when it's not so racist, but you know.
It's kind of a countrywide problem right now, so.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Aruj. I'm in Brooklyn, New York.
Nice. Welcome, Aruj.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Hassan. I'm in Jersey these days.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Kat and I'm from Brooklyn as well.
Hi, Kat. Assalamualaikum, Kat. Who else? Come on. You guys can like introduce yourself and say how the corona situation is in your state. Like that's totally fine too, or something funny. Like tell us something about yourself. Because as officers will talk, you'll get to know us, but we want to put like names. You want to put faces to the names, or we want to put your voice to your name. So.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Talia. Fun fact is that California, I think we're taking the lead in coronavirus cases, despite Bay Area social distancing. And I'm based in Oakland, California.
That's awesome. Thank you for joining us. Well, not awesome about corona, but awesome that you're joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Actually, why don't we take a moment and read Surah Fatiha for those we've lost. I imagine that everybody here has had somebody who's personally affected. I hope that none of you lost anybody. I got lucky so far. But for anybody that we have lost personally or that we've lost across the country as fellow Americans, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah.
Are we ready?
Yes.
All right, great. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's great to see a good group here for the American Muslim Bar Association's first general board meeting. I'd like to just tell you a little bit about how AMBA came about, its purpose, and why we felt there was a need for another Muslim legal organization on the national level. So AMBA really grew sort of organically, right, through conversations. I think probably for myself over the last 3 years, with a few people separately, brother Hassan Sheikh, sister Salma Rizvi, and it was brother Mahmoud Rizvi, who's on the call here. He's our one of our co-chairs for our committees, mentor and co-chair, who really came together a few months ago to talk about the need for a bar association for Muslim lawyers that would represent the values of the Ahlul Bayt. And we felt that that was really important because there was no really value-based, powerful legal Muslim voice that was advocating for the causes that we also strongly believe in. And that's not just those issues that affect the American Muslim community or Muslims worldwide, but causes that we as Muslims, as those people who really hold the Ahlul Bayt close to our heart, know that we should be speaking up for, speaking truth to power, because that's what we as Muslims are, commanded to do by Allah, right? So it's part of fulfilling the duty that we that comes with being on this earth, alhamdulillah. So that very broadly is sort of where this came from. To sort of think about also why another reason this came about was, I was just talking about this. Me and Sister Salma had a chance to be on a show that was put on by Care National, a daily show, and they asked the same question. Why is there a need for another organization like this? My answer was sort of came out very naturally in a sense that there's an American Muslim culture, right? And we have to acknowledge that there is an American Muslim culture. What is that culture, right? There are beautiful parts of that culture, but there is one thing that I've noticed growing up here. I've lived in the U.S. for 30 years plus, and one thing I've noticed is there is a bit of an extremely feel to Muslim culture in general. And I think other people here can probably relate to that in one capacity or other at some point in your life. It was at university, in college, in your MSA, if you're a Muslim minority, you notice that certain programming wasn't perfectly.
Brother Muhammad Ali, you were breaking up for I think a few people, and that maybe you want to backtrack maybe a minute and a half, and then just start over maybe.
Yeah, Ali, can you hear us? I think when you started talking about the care piece.
Mm-hmm. You're muted now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, great. Okay, so when I was talking about care, right? So we were on a show, a daily show that's put on by Care National, and this topic came up, and I was able to answer pretty naturally, right? In a sense that where did AMBA come from? And I think so there is an American Muslim culture that exists, and we have to acknowledge that, right? And there's a lot of positives with American Muslim culture. But one thing, I've lived here for about 30 years, and one thing I've noticed is that there are parts of American Muslim culture that are exclusionary, right? If you've ever been part of broader Muslim circles, whether it's at university, for example, in your MSA, you may have felt, if you're from a minority Muslim community, that some of the programming wasn't as relevant to you or geared towards you. Or sometimes when you asked for there to be a program more specific to whether it's Shia Islam or other minority Muslim communities, that your needs or your voices weren't really heard, and people weren't receptive, right? So that is an unfortunate culture that does exist in many different spaces, including the university campus. So I think through the years, and this actually hurts me very much, on the university campus where people are growing up, interacting with a lot of different types of people. That's where you're supposed to be learning, in that in your early years, and understanding different personal narratives, understanding different historical narratives, even within your own faith community or however you identify, that's when people are excluding each other. And this, I absolutely love, for example, the Ahlul student associations which are springing up. But part of it hurts me a little bit because, well, why aren't Muslim students together, discussing issues that affect all of us, but also learning from each other, learning from our backgrounds, learning from our different narratives. And then, as you grow older, it's natural to start a family and go to your specific faith community and practice, right? That's going to happen anyway. So why not in those years, So that's one thing. Like we've a lot of us have been through that. So AMBA is in many ways a result of part of the American Muslim culture that has seemed exclusionary, right? So very generally speaking, I think Muslim organizations are fit into three buckets. There's Shia organizations, there's Sunni organizations, there's Muslim organizations, right? And then we have obviously other minority Muslim organizations that are very specifically, addressing needs in those communities. And it's good that we have that, because we do need organizations that are catering to specific needs within these different sect communities, right? But a Muslim organization, if we want to call it that, I think cannot actually be that unless they are actively reaching out to all the different parts of our faith community, right? And I can really literally count on my hands the number of organizations that I think fit into that model, right? So if we have national Muslim organizations, we really have to ask that question. Are they being inclusive? Are they reaching out to different members of different communities? And we often get these, very blasé answers, sort of, well, we're all Muslim and, we all fit under this paradigm and we shouldn't be, we shouldn't divide ourselves. When in fact, the way, at least I see it personally, the way to unify is without uniformity, right? With sort of an educated lens of recognizing the needs based on difference while bringing people together on common platform and common values, right? And that's when you really can create something powerful, when you have informed voices coming together on a agreed common platform based on a shared set of values, And I think that's what AMBA is trying to do. One of the questions that, the interviewers on the show that we were on asked was, well, is this, a Shia Bar Association? And we were so adamant, Selma and I, that this is not a Shia Bar Association, right? That's what we're trying to get past. We're trying to build that Muslim organization that really listens to all voices in the Muslim community to come on a shared platform, but from values that we all, believe in. The Ahlul Bayt, there's this, in the Shia community, there's this feeling that we own the Ahlul Bayt, right? There's this emotional feeling that the Ahlul Bayt is, well, that's for us. They're for us. We speak for who they are. But, I've had so many experiences with my Sunni brothers and sisters, for example, where they've shared their deep love for the family of the Prophet, peace be upon him, right? And I think we need to acknowledge that. We need to welcome that. And we all benefit, right? The not only Muslims, but all of humanity will benefit the more they learn about our beautiful Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And I think we want to put that forward in the public eye. Each one of our statements, if you go on our website, www.ambalegal.org, starts with a quote from one of our beloved members of the family of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And that's by design, right? I mean, we want to show that, we are inspired by them. We are acting through their role modeling, through their example, as we tackle the many, many issues that we face in society today. With that, turn it back over to Kanza. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much, Brother Ali. Okay, now we're going to go over our committee overviews. So we have 4 different committees, and they'll just kind of go and introduce themselves and what they do and who they are, and they're by our other amazing officers team. So first, we're going to start off with legal resources, which Sister Sakina and Brother Sajjad are heads of, the chairs of.
Yes, so assalamu alaikum, guys. This is again Sakina. I put my camera on, based out of Brooklyn, New York. And Sajjad, if you want to do a quick intro for yourself.
Salam. As I said, I'm Mohammed Sajjad. I'm from the DMV area.
And both of us have been working a lot in the last few weeks about sort of how to best position this particular committee. And the goal of the committee is to make sure that there is a network. Obviously, the goal of AMBA broadly is to create that network amongst the Muslim lawyers across the country. But it is to also ensure that there are resources available when we are approached by community members or additional individuals to provide referrals. So that could be business development for some of you, but it's also, in addition to that, being able to provide pro bono support. And so one of the things that we've kind of talked through and worked through as part of the AMBA board has been looking at priority areas where many of us have been reached to for assistance. And those priority areas, and any of you that are doing work in this regard or in any field, any practice area, and you feel that you would like to join the Legal Resource Network, we absolutely encourage you to do it. Sajjad will talk about how he's been reaching out for that in just a second. But the main areas that we're looking at right now where there's sort of a crush is immigration, specifically for asylum cases. Just even as recent as yesterday, had another conversation with someone who's looking for representation. And again, these are both, these are cases that are looking for lawyers to hire, as well as sometimes we get requests for pro bono assistance. Other sort of critical issues are domestic violence or abuse. And then resources for protesters or people who are facing discrimination in work environments or in other situations. And then arena is looking at 501c3 or nonprofit law assistance. Some of the things that have come up, particularly with Muslim organizations, have been issues with OFAC, the Office of Foreign Assets Control. So if anyone has expertise in that arena, I know that we do have folks looking for 501c3 setup help and references on that. And again, asylum, we have a few. Part of this legal research network that we're going to develop, and when you go through the membership form, you'll see that there is an option to opt in or out, is to be able to create this sort of referral network, but also to have a separate list of experts that is available if people need, for advocacy issues, for policy issues, assistance or sort of a knowledgeable voice. So you have a resource base that you can connect to that is sensitive to the community's issues, that is knowledgeable on other broader issues as well. So that's also why we kind of are asking each of you not to limit to these 3 or 4 areas, but be a part of the network and really engage and be part of as much of this as you can. Its strength is really going to be as much as you're able to kind of share about yourself. Sajjad, I'm going to turn it over to you for a little bit more about how you're reaching out, and then the second action item that we're kind of newly working on.
Yeah. I've reached out to probably everyone that's been on this call right now through WhatsApp, inviting you guys to sign up on our website. If you guys haven't already done that, I urge you to do so as well. That website is probably going to be our home base for how we're going to communicate with our own members, and also how we're going to try and have a place for people who are looking for help or looking for a lawyer for hire to access our network as well, even if they're not a part of it themselves. So I urge you guys to please sign up if you haven't already. That's where a lot of our work as legal resources is going to be done. And we're also going to be using the data, essentially whatever information you guys provide us, to be creating databases and groupings of lawyers that have expertise in certain areas, like Sister Sakina said, either for finding these, for hire cases or pro bono cases, but also for these policy cases. So you will, inshallah, be grouped with other people who share your expertise, who share your interest. Especially for the people who are coming into the field, you'll be grouped with people who, have been working in it in a long time, and you'll kind of be able to grow that network from there, inshallah, which leads to the second thing that we actually just, it's been a recent idea, and I think it's going to be a really valuable one for our community to grow as a legal community as well, which is like job listings. We're also going to try and have a page on the website where some of the more senior attorneys or anyone who has information about certain opportunities, like for example, I know one that we can very possibly add right now is like there's a lot of law clerk opportunities that are offered by CARE, and we'll definitely be posting those just to bring them to people's eyes so that they can find them more easily. So it's like going to be a central position, a central location where you guys can find opportunities that are either offered by Muslims or like found by Muslims, so that you have kind of like a foot in the door already, which is really important for this field of work. So we're definitely going to have that, and especially if you tell us what kind of interest you have in the field, we can also be categorizing those job listings by the field in which they pertain to, so it'll be easier for you as well. And this is all going to be happening on the website most likely, with a few emails here and there. So I again urge everybody to sign up for the website if you haven't already. But yeah, that's all for me.
Yeah, and Sajad and I again have been talking about, and the AMBA board generally have been talking about different ways in how we can be there for the membership. But part of this is also, this is what's being planned for now. And we'd love to hear from you guys. I know the meeting opens up later with any insights, input. The job listing, again, was something that came up, I know, in the WhatsApp group. And after that, he and I kind of went back and forth to try and figure out what's the best way to do this as a resource for the network. And so it's important that you're part of the network. And Hassan, I'm doing like half your job here with membership. But so, with that, we'll turn it over to the next committee. I know time is tight. But, any questions, comments, if you want to get involved more on this particular side of it. And again, to underscore, the resource network part of it is looking for experts in a broad range of things. And we do have some commitments from law firms or folks at other law firms that are also not Muslim that are happy to help. So if you know folks that would be open for that type of work as well, recommend away. Thanks, guys.
I also want to add one thing, that like this network that we're building is going to be extremely important for our community. Is like specifically the Muslim community, of course, because we are the American Muslim Bar Association. But one of the things that we see, like, especially in this time of like, racial unrest, is that we need to, stand together as minority communities to help foster our own community's strength. So like being there, even if like aren't specifically working on immigration, asylum, domestic violence, but even as like a business lawyer, helping foster, Muslim business owners' needs that will help grow our Muslim community by having more Muslim businesses is really important. So like, don't feel like you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do a lot of pro bono work, or if I'm not, very like, I don't have a lot of expertise in these, like, immigration, protesters, discrimination, this kind of law. If you're doing anything, all of it is helpful for the community, and just please join the network. It's going to be beneficial for both you and your akhirah.
Thank you so much, Brother Sajjad and Sister Sakina. That was awesome. Okay, now let's move on to our mentorship committee by Brother Asad and Brother Mahmoud. So whoever wants to speak.
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks, Kanza. My name is Asad Hassan, and I, along with Brother Syed Mahmoud Rizvi, will be chairing the mentorship committee. Brother Mahmoud and I, we feel like the mentorship committee really is the foundation for all the other amazing things that AMBA is doing that you'll hear about, in that, if we're able to provide guidance on how, young lawyers can gain the opportunities and the skills that they're seeking to acquire, we can sort of grow our potential to do more amazing things in the future. And I know for me personally, going into law school and through law school, and, as I was looking for a job, and even now as a practicing attorney, I always felt like my network of Muslims that I knew that were lawyers was very small, and I always wished I had more guidance from Muslim attorneys. And I kind of just figured things out on my own in a lot of places. So, we're hoping to bridge the gap because there really are a lot of attorneys out there who are Muslim who are doing amazing things. And, we've received a lot of engagement and interest in our mentorship programs. And alhamdulillah, I think the really great thing that I've seen so far is that it's not just people seeking mentorship, but it's actually people offering to provide their services as mentors to spread their wisdom and what they've learned. So alhamdulillah, I think, our mentorship efforts can be very beneficial to lawyers that are out there. So that being said, I just want to talk to you quickly about 2 programs that we're undertaking off the bat, and 2 ways that you can get involved and help out in those programs. The first of which is a one-on-one mentoring program that we're hoping to get off the ground. That will involve pairing up a law student or an incoming law student with a practicing attorney, and they'll have a formal mentorship program, mentorship relationship where, the mentor can guide them through law school, through their career search, through taking the bar, and, they'll stay their mentor, once they're, a practicing attorney. And, they'll just have someone to bounce their ideas off of. If they, they'll also have someone that they can connect with other attorneys that are out there. They'll have a point of contact. So, the main way that you can get involved in that is, as Brother Sajjad mentioned, going to the AMBA website and clicking on the join page. And when you click on that survey to join, there's a portion that talks about mentorship and whether you're able to be a mentor, or if you're seeking mentorship in your interest areas. If you could please fill that out, that will help us, pair everyone with a mentor that kind of fits what they're looking for. So that we can, we're hoping to get that off the ground and running as soon as possible. Inshallah, in the future, we'll try, once we have the law school attorney mentorship program set up, we may try to branch out into a, young attorney with more experienced attorney program. And then inshallah, we're also hoping to have sort of more of an ad hoc, bench of potential mentors, where if someone has a specific, mentorship question or some type of, career development question, they can, step in and answer that specific question without being a formal mentor. So again, if you could please fill out the form, that would really help with that first program. The second program that we have is that we are going to try to, do outreach to people, to Muslims that are interested in entering into the legal field, as well as law students, through, different events that we can have. The benefit of the current quarantine that we have is that, everything like this meeting is done through Zoom. So you have a much broader reach than you would by trying to go to individual campuses. And so our first event in that vein is on August 1st, inshallah, at 8:30 p.m. AMBA will send you more information on that, but we're going to have a panel of attorneys and a current law student speaking about their experiences there thus far and how they've gotten to where they've gotten. We have Sister Salma Rizvi, who you heard recite Dua Kamal. She's currently an associate at Ropes and Gray. We have Sister Sahar Saber, who's a law clerk with the Southern District of New York, the federal clerk there. And then we have Sister Intia Aziz, who's currently a law student at the University of Texas. But that's really kind of just the tip of the iceberg on all of their experiences. So I really urge you to join the meeting and to learn about all the other things that all the amazing things that they've done. I think that event, we're hoping it'll be a great opportunity for anyone who's not in law school and not a lawyer to sort of learn about what a legal job entails. But I think it'll also be interesting if you're a current attorney, just to hear about these sisters' experiences and how they've dealt with, being female Muslim lawyers and how they've gotten to where they've gotten. I think will be interesting and beneficial for all lawyers. And inshallah, we're hoping to, this just to be kind of the first of many, many events. So if you could please, join that event and send it out to anyone who you think would be interested, that would be great. And like I said, we've had a lot of engagement and interest that, so far. And so for the people who have, Sister Selma has connected with you with me to email, we'll be reaching out to you shortly with more, specific steps that you can take to get involved as we go along. But thank you everyone for your time. Brother Mahmoud, let me know if there's anything else you want to throw in there, if you just want to introduce yourself. He may not be on the call, so I think we could probably just go to the next committee, but we'll put in our contact information and the mentorship email in the chat, or I guess someone's doing that.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So sorry, yeah, I'm dialed in because my Wi-Fi, there's a thunderstorm right now in Western Mass, so my Wi-Fi is really bad. But assalamu alaikum everyone. Brother Sajjad, thank you so much. I think you pretty much covered everything. I'm from the Massachusetts area, and I'll be starting law school, inshallah, at HLS in Cambridge, Mass. next fall. But I think Brother Sajjad covered everything other than when me and Insia were starting conversations, when we were both heading into our legal educations, we kind of looked up and realized how many engineers and doctors there were in the community, and that's fantastic. But we just realized that there was so few lawyers, and especially such a need within our communities of legal advocacy and representation and education, what have you. Then I was fortunate enough to get in touch with wonderful angels like Brother Muhammad Ali Naqvi and Sister Salma Rizvi, who really took this entire thing to the next level and really made sure it was not just about, our own personal education and career development, but also making an impact on the American landscape in regards to spreading justice.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all your hard work. You guys, please share the flyer around. We'll post on the WhatsApp, on the Slack. We'll post on all our social media. So please pass them out to any pre-law students or any lawyers that would be interested in our event on August 1st. Inshallah, I'm really excited. Now we're on to our advocacy committee. And if you guys have been seeing the awesome statements, this has been done from our advocacy committee. So this is to Sister Kulsum and Sister Insia, who will go and introduce themselves.
Thank you, Kanta, for that beautiful introduction. I'm Kulsum. I'm the advocacy chair with Insia here. Insia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Insia. I go to UT Law, and I'm going to start my second year here in the fall.
So again, I'm Kulsum. I'm attendance rights attorney here in Brooklyn. I'm bedside based. Inti and I got to talk in a lot of detail over the last few weeks, and we really want our work to be driven by the beautiful examples that the Ahl Bayt has left for us. And, Muhammad Ali actually beautifully touched upon how the Ahl Bayt were really at the forefront of speaking truth to power, and how they left us with beautiful examples of how to embody principles of love, compassion, justice, and integrity. We see this as an example of the Prophet Muhammad and Khadija Kubra, peace and blessings be upon them, when they stood resolutely against the oppressors of their time, how it cost them their livelihood and threatened everyone they loved. Khadija Kubra was the first person to believe in the Prophet and supported him and his community emotionally, financially, and spiritually. A real ride or die. We see it in the example of Lady Fatima and Imam Ali, how they spoke powerfully with moral courage and an unwavering zeal to continue the prophetic mission. And then there's, of course, Lady Fatima and Imam Hussein, and we saw how they sacrificed their lives, their livelihoods, and freedom to stand against the oppressors of their time. And so we can only hope to emulate an ounce of the values they left behind for us by speaking to the salient issues of our time and amplifying the calls of people on the ground advocating for transformative justice. We understand that we are a new organization here at AMBA and are coming into a space where incredible grassroots civil rights and human rights organizations and communities are already doing this work. We hope to take leadership, mentorship, and guidance from them on how we can move forward toward collective liberation and collaborate with them on future projects, which includes, like Kanza had mentioned, penning solidarity statements and advocating for calls to action. We've already published a few statements, including one against the injustices facing the Black communities across the United States, and one against the ICE directive that's since been reversed, attempting to deport international students. We hope to keep building on this momentum in line with the Beloved Families spirit. And so if you're liking the sound of that and are interested in building out our advocacy work as a committee member, please reach out to me. Me or someone will provide our email in the chat window. So I'm really looking forward. We're really looking forward. Thank you. And sorry if I spoke too fast. I'm trying to be mindful of the time. So thank you.
Thank you, Sister Kulsum. Awesome. Advocacy is doing a phenomenal job. I'm really excited for everything else they have planned. Next, we're going to go on to our Education Committee by Brother Ali Tawfiq and Sister Amal.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So Sister Amal could not make it tonight. She has a very busy schedule. Something came up. So briefly, in 60 seconds, the Education Committee, if you want to know more information about what we're trying to do, please visit the CARE interview. Sister Salma did a brilliant job of explaining what the Education Committee is all about. She made my job much easier. But just to give, I guess, 2 sentences, as you know, we are legal representatives of the Muslim community for the most part, and our job is to serve them. And I guess one of the most important factors for any organization is the educational component, and not just educating the Muslim communities, but lawyers themselves. I guess the more we're able to understand how we can best serve, then I guess we can also increase, I guess, the strength of this group, inshallah. And so I guess just to give some examples about what the primary focus would be for the next few months would be, so like in the course of like Islamic law, obviously rules of like inheritance, marriages, divorces, loans, transactional loan contracts. These are things that we have in our Islamic law, but we don't understand how they apply within the context of the society that we live in today. And so I guess our lawyers must be acquainted with what the Islamic perspective is, so that when they're advising clients, we can actually, come and explain both sides and how they can incorporate and protect their interests. And I guess that's a very basic introduction. And then, aside from the Islamic perspective, then we have, I guess, general, know your rights type education. I think like there's some overlap with legal resources, and I guess we'll be spreading more information about that in the future, inshallah. That's it from me.
Thank you, Brother Ali. I think that was a little longer than 60 seconds, but it's fine. You told us the time. I'm just kidding. Anyways, no, that was
it was
great.
definitely under.
Okay, anyways, but yes, thank you so much. So as you can see, the committees are working really hard and everyone's doing such an amazing job. Now we'll go on to membership dues by Brother Hassan.
Assalamu alaikum. Good to talk to you all again. This is going to be even shorter because we have not been able to incorporate yet. We're in that process, and inshallah we plan to incorporate as a 501c3. Rather, I should say we incorporate as a nonprofit and register with the IRS as a 501c3. In the meantime, there are a lot of members who have put significant amount of funds already into the infrastructure of this group, and we thank them for that. I don't want to name any names at this time because I haven't taken the permission, but we also are asking people to give as generously as you feel comfortable. We're asking everybody to give maybe $25 as a voluntary contribution, if not more. It's up to you. And we're going to put in the chat box the connection to the PayPal pool. Pool is a new function for some people. They may not know about it, but it's supposed to approximate what we would do for an unincorporated association of any other kind. I mean, something's going on in the neighborhood, you want to raise funds for somebody who has fallen ill, then people usually have somebody that put it in a hat, and that's basically what a money pool is at this time. So I'm going to put that in the corner, and if anybody has any questions, they can hit me up at treasurer@ambalegal.org, and I'll also put that over there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brother Hassan. Awesome job. So now we're gonna open the floor up if anyone wants to talk about anything, or if Sister Selma or anyone, if the other officers want to say anything, and then it's up to y'all. Thank you guys for being so patient and listening through everything. You guys are awesome.
I just would like to embarrass Brother Ali Tawfiq a little bit because he did he sold himself short. He's kind of our he mashallah has spent much time in studying at the Hosa, and I know many people within our community often want to know how to write a marriage contract according to fiqh or a will, and so he'll be trying to get us that education as well. So we are invested in not just secular legal education through the education committee, but also religious education whenever we can provide it. So it's a blessing to have you, Brother Ali Tawfiq. And yeah, we're looking forward, inshallah, to those resources. And I also like to give thank you to all these amazing committee co-chairs. Everyone comes with such beautiful energy, mashallah. This is a really great team. I've never felt happier to work on such a leadership team. So if you're a general member joining for the first time, I promise you that you're in good hands if you're working with one of these committee chairs, and if you join their committee. It's good energy, it's positive. God will put barakah in your time, inshallah, for your involvement. I'd also like to give a shout out to Sister Wen Vo, who made our website, mashallah. She's not on this call today, but she did an amazing job. And Brother Hamza Sufi is working through his corporate law firm to incorporate us, inshallah, pro bono, through a tax partner is looking through that right now, whether it's 501c3 or C6. He's got some updates for you, Hassan, inshallah, he'll be sending. And I'd also like to give a shout out to our board of advisors. Rashida was on earlier, and I believe, I don't know if she hopped off. I know, as Brother Mahmoud was saying, there's a bad storm. A few people texted me saying that they've been kicked off because of the storm, as well as Sister Rashida, who's in Atlanta right now. And so, sorry, in North Carolina right now. And so I wanted to give a shout out to Sister Rashida James, who's is a cultural curator for Sapelo Square, a Black Muslim organization, activism organization, and we're blessed to have her on our board of advisors, as well as Brother Jihad Saleh of Islamic Relief, who's part of our board of advisors, and Brother Abid Ayub from the ADC. So mashallah, we are really happy, and just recently Brother Tariq Jamil as well. And so we are so blessed to have this guidance that continues to guide us as we build out these various functions and try to build this movement, again, based off of the principles of the Ahlul Bayt. I know everyone probably has questions and comments. I know 2 specific projects we would love somebody to work on. One is kind of somebody who would have the bandwidth or time to help us with media strategy. I know that Sister Intia is planning on putting everything in Hootsuite, so we can post, to Facebook and Instagram and Twitter all at once, and that'll save us some time. But we are still looking for somebody who could kind of churn out the work that we produce to media outlets, a PR person, inshallah. If somebody is interested, we have a few people in mind, but we wanted to put it out there because we might need more than a few people to help with that. We also are looking for somebody who, if anybody has the bandwidth, to build out an AMBA journal, a law journal mixed with a newsletter. We could talk about it offline, but if anybody, has law review experience and this is something that they would love to do, just to get into the Muslim community and get legal written pieces that we can self-publish, I think that would be amazing. And I know that, it's hard to sometimes, as Muslim Americans, to publish on certain very controversial topics. If we want to do radical lawyering against some of the government's actions towards terrorism, or we want to speak about Palestine and we have legal papers around that, I know it's hard to find publication. So we're hoping to provide that outlet. So these are just a few ways in which, inshallah, if people want to get involved, And I don't know if I've missed anything, Muhammad Ali, for a few specific things, the newsletter, journal, and PR, that we're still looking for some leaders to help with. And we'll open it up, inshallah.
Yeah, no, I think you covered mostly everything. I'd love to hear from everyone about what else AMBA could be doing. If you think we're missing something major, or even if it's small, you think we could be doing to bring light to it and put some energy behind it. And also, I think I know I sit on the advocacy committee, and I'm guessing Sister Kulsum, Sister Intia would be open to hearing. Are there causes that you think that we should be upholding, writing about, and if you feel really strongly about it, join our advocacy committee. We have amazing people come in and out, as new causes come up. We need fresh sort of energy. It's a lot of work to put a statement together, so it can't just be one or two people doing it. So if you want to come in, contribute, and then leave, that's totally fine. I think the advocacy committee is going to have that sort of movement of people coming in and out, I think. So we're really excited to hear from you all.
And we're happy to host your name on our website for any contributions, inshallah, if you'd like that, if you want that. And yeah, I know, Kulsum, there are a couple statements that on the Slack that we're thinking about, one against the death penalty.
Yeah, there's a federal execution coming up at the end of August. We were thinking of penning something in advance of that one. There was a cease to the federal executions as early as 2003, and this practice has been revived by President Donald Trump. So we wanted to fashion something around that. I know the elections are also coming up, and there are a lot of issues that affect our community and affect other communities at large in this country that we're interested in having the candidates speak to as well. And so we want to, craft statements around those issues as well as they become relevant talking points during election season or when it gets closer to the elections. Intia and I were talking yesterday, and Intia, did you want to share the ideas that you had mentioned to me, or do you want me to share them?
You can go ahead and share them. I don't have them written down, so you probably know them better than I do.
Yeah, so I think we had talked about the United States' role in funding certain governments that commit oppression against other countries. We had mentioned the Saudi oppression against, the Saudi's oppressive role in the war in Yemen. We had mentioned potentially calling out and calling in corporations that are heavily involved with dealings in India and kind of contributed to the military oppression that's happening there against Kashmiris. I know that there is another committee member that's writing about the oppression against the Uyghur community in China. So these are just some of the things that are in the works right now that we have in mind. We obviously, that's not what we're closed off to. There's obviously more statements that we want to write in the future, and we're really excited to hear from you all and on what you'd like to see from us going forward.
Thank you so much, Sister Kulsum. Okay, Sister Kokop, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. Please tell me how to pronounce it correctly. And sorry, raise your hand. You're muted.
Sorry, you can call me Kay. It's much easier. I joined at the end, so I'm very sorry if you guys did mention this. If you did, forgive me. It's like last couple weeks at work, and it's crazy here. But I wanted to see for advocacy if we can, alhamdulillah, yesterday, the House of Representatives did pass the No Ban Act. It's going to go to the Senate. As optimistic as we can be, being more realistic, it might not pass, which is most likely what will happen. But I think this is an opportunity to educate Muslims and give them they know that now we have power, and we have a say. And when we go out and tell people to vote, they're like, why am I going to vote? Like, my vote doesn't even matter anyways. I think that we can use this as like a narrative that your vote does matter. And this is what we did. Even if it doesn't go and if it doesn't pass, Biden said that his first day he's going to, pass it. But I think this is an opportunity where we can bring Muslims so they can, engage in their civic duty and actually vote and be more active. So if we can do something around that, I apologize if this was already brought up, but this is just something that came to mind.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for bringing that up and your perspective. Thank you. We will actually discuss this too. So actually, I just wanted to let everyone know the meeting is officially over. But if you guys want to like discuss something or you guys have something to say, you're still more than welcome to come on and like let us know and stuff, because I think some of the board will still be here. But if you have to go, thank you so much for joining. And yeah.
And I think one of the things that Muhammad is raising in the chat group, Kosa, maybe you can speak to a little bit about what's already been done in terms of partnering with other advocacy or like-minded organizations with the previous statements, and definitely is something that AMBA is looking to do broadly. And that connects back to legal resources, so I kind of jumped on that. But I think it would be a good time to talk about some of the previous work that you've done.
Sure. So I think in the next few days, we're hoping to publish a statement against against Israel's annexation plan in the West Bank and its larger apartheid governance over Palestinians. And I'm just using that as an example. We've actually reached out to a number of orgs that have stated their solidarity with the Palestinian struggle and have done work around the issues there. We're actually trying to center the calls of Palestinian civil society and what they would like to see happen, across the globe, from governments here or there, to call in the United States and say these are like the list of demands that we want applied. We've reached out to organizations like CCR. We've reached out to the National Lawyers Guild, and then we've also reached out to other organizations, affinity organizations that have demonstrated their solidarity with the Palestinian struggle. So we've reached out to organizations like Movement for Black Lives, Water Protective Legal, things like this. So like First Nation orgs and Black-based orgs as well. So that's the kind of work that we're doing right now. And in the future, whenever we want to write a statement on a particular topic, we first want to look at who's already doing this work, who's vested already, who's the most knowledgeable. So we can reach out to them and say, like, what's needed here? This is what we're planning on doing. Would you like to collaborate? Can we reach out to you for advice? Because really, whatever statement we want to put out there, we only want to help and get it right? Like we don't want to take away from what's already being done. So that's the goal, that's the intention.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. If I may, I have kids in the background and everything, so I apologize if you hear any noise. Although I don't have the bandwidth to help all that much at this time, I mean, this AMBA thing, this is huge. I'm very, very excited that you guys have started this. It's amazing. It's long overdue, and it's something that's desperately needed within the community. I mean, just to rattle off a few thoughts, but let me ask a really stupid question first. Is this organization officially like Shia oriented, or is it kind of general Islamic and then you guys have Shia members kind of thing?
I can take that one. Inshallah, we are, as you could probably tell by the names in our leadership board, we are, Shia-led, alhamdulillah. But as Shias, we know how it feels to be that minority voice in Muslim America and to not and to often be excluded. So we don't want to mirror what we've been through and what we felt. We want to be an inclusive space. And so we are very open that we are lovers of the Ahlul Bayt, that, you know, inshallah we'll probably do something for Karbala, that, you know, we are, it's pretty clear that we're Shia led, and that we hope to inculcate a fearless voice like those of the Imams alayhi salam. But we also want to keep the invitation open to our Sunni, you know, Ahmadis, even Salafi brothers and sisters who may be open to loving the Prophet's family and joining us through our different works and our committees. And so, inshallah, we're hoping to be as inclusive as possible, but for once be an Muslim American organization that's, you know, centers the Ahlul Bayt, inshallah, and the values of the Ahlul Bayt.
Absolutely. And the only reason that I was asking was, one is, you know, some of the advocacy work that you guys are talking about, you know, obviously some of that can be very Shia oriented. And this is my rattling off the ideas is, you know, there's an organization dedicated to Jannatul Baqi and rebuilding Jannatul Baqi. I actually serve on the board of that organization, and I've helped them with legal issues and things like that. But I know that they would be very, very excited to collaborate with legal minds in their advocacy work they've done. They've gone all the way actually to the UN, and they had a human rights lawyer engaged her and had advocacy at the UN level. And I know for a fact that they would be, they'd be very excited to have like issue joint statements, you know, any papers that you guys can think of on international law and how the Saudi government is violating that, and you know, UN law, UN resolutions that the Saudi government is violating by not protecting, you know, sacred religious sites. And I can discuss that with anybody. And I mean, I think that honestly, that would make for a really, really great paper. That's just one idea. But so that was the idea. That was the thought I had in terms of like, you know, partnering with organizations. Bucky.org is the website. I can post it in the chat for the leadership, that if you guys want to investigate, and feel free to reach out to me if we need to talk further. The other thing is, I know AMBA could really be a good resource just for masjids throughout the United States. The Shia community is, you know, it's a little bit further behind when it comes to, you know, lawyers in the community. I mean, I live in a pretty populous area in Chicago, and I could probably name on both hands, you know, the lawyers in our community. And I know that people, not only the populace needs lawyer referrals and attorney referrals, but also the masjids themselves when they have legal issues. You know, maybe AMBA can be one of those resources for the masjids there. And then my final thought, and I'll stop talking, I promise. The intersect between Shia Islam and American law is something that fascinates me, and an event that I would be more than willing to attend would be somebody like Brother Ali, you know, just giving a lecture on, you know, what Shia jurisprudence says on family law or estate planning, and then what the American law says. And I'm sure that we could find an attorney amongst us, or even, you know, within our community, within the broader Muslim community, that can speak on the American law side of that. And that would make for, you know, I've honestly been trying to think of ways to get that knowledge, because a lot of people ask me, hey, I want to do a will, but I want to do a Shia Sharia compliant will. And there are resources out there, but there's nothing as a lawyer where I can go to one resource. But now that I have Brother Ali, I'm just going to call him directly and say, hey, Brother Ali, can you just do this for me or help me do it? But so unfortunately, your name's out there now, and I'm not going to forget it. But I think if we can educate ourselves within the Shia legal community as to that intersection, that would be wonderful.
Hey, thank you so much, Brother Muhammad, for those ideas as well. And that wasn't a stupid question. That was actually a good question. I had to talk about that with someone about stupid questions. There are no stupid questions. Okay, anyways, is there anyone else who has a question or something to say or something they want to add on or anything as well? This is an open floor, and like the meeting is technically over, but this is just for everyone. Brother Hassan, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, we've had a steady group of about 25 people, and some of you I haven't previously connected with. And one thing I wanted to do is, let's do some networking tonight, right now. So if you guys want to post any social media profile, whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram, if you don't use one profile, post the other, whatever you want me to follow you on and all the rest of the executive committee, please do post that so that we can keep in touch with you and watch what you're paying attention to.
Nice. Okay. Anyone else? Anything else? Like, we could use this as a networking opportunity if you guys want to say anything. You want to add more voices to the names? I feel like.
I'll just say that Russia is posting some comments in the chat here. And I'm wondering if Muhammad Ali or Salma, do you want to take one of these questions?
Which question specifically are you talking about?
It said,
So sorry, Sister Rasha, are you able to speak on your phone? Can we hear your voice? If not, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm responding on the chat as well. I think some of these ideas are great.
Oh yeah.
Education committee, as well as advocacy committee. I'd love to keep hearing more ideas that you all have. One thing, I think that what I personally, with a few of our friends in the Shia community, took part in a town hall, Muslim town hall in New Jersey and Pennsylvania for the Biden campaign. And they've put out a Muslims in America page, which is pretty detailed. It's not bad. They mention the Muslims in Kashmir. They mention the Uyghurs Muslims in China. They mention the Rohingya Muslims in Burma. They don't mention Yemen. They don't mention the Iran nuclear deal. Some of these issues, I think, might be something that our advocacy committee might want to take on and maybe write to the Biden campaign to actually put into their platform or consider. Maybe we can actually have a call. The other thing I actually heard on that call was that next week, the Biden campaign is having a national call with the Shia community, something I hadn't heard about. So if any of you are interested, I can get those details and pass them along on the
Farouk Mehta also reached out to me to have a conversation with AMBA specifically. So if you guys want to do that, we can. I think coming out with a statement, pushing the and Coca, if you could weigh in on that, because your experience with Care New York and everything, and how you guys are mobilizing, but my experience, and Mahmoud invited me. I've been on some of these calls with Biden's campaign, and I've been pushing him really hard on certain issues. And my experience is that it's hard to move the needle when you are talking to the Muslim outreach person who's kind of it seems like trying to pacify the Muslims rather than going and like, for example, I said, well, would Biden come out in support of BDS? BDS is a nonviolent resistance mechanism that has been used in civil rights contexts outside of Palestine, South Africa, civil rights in America. And the answer was just like no. And so I think if we were to, a better use of our time, we could get on a call and a conversation, and just more voices saying the same thing could help. But I think Sister Kokub, if you were like the statement you wanted to write about voting and getting out and making sure if we vote as a Muslim community this election, if you felt comfortable, maybe also like helping to coordinate some of the criticisms or like some of the key agenda items that we want to push in an advocacy type statement, that might be good. And then if we can try to get something like that published or get other Muslim orgs to send it around, like Biden needs to change his stance on XYZ to get Muslim buy-in, I think that would be a little bit more professional than just more talks on the phone, honestly. Just an idea.
I think that's a great idea. So that's something we can't work on at Care New York. First, we don't. I mean, 501c3, and we're bipartisan. We don't get into any elections or any of that sort. So we try not to get involved, just because we also don't want to lose our 501c3. But we try our best to educate the Muslim community on what power they hold. And I think that's very important because we underestimate it sometimes. And that's like my purpose, at least. Like, even I'm originally from Michigan, and when I tell folks back in Michigan to go out and vote, they're like, oh, for what? We're not going to get anywhere or whatever. But no, I'd be honestly really happy to help. So we can definitely hop on a phone call and talk about that. In regards to also, CARE New York doesn't do any foreign affairs, anything international. So we don't do anything with like Palestine unless it's strictly affecting New York State. CARE National definitely does, but CARE New York is just within New York State. But I can definitely, on my personal capacity, would love to do it.
Yeah, and you could join the advocacy committee officially if that's would you have bandwidth for that?
I will make time for that.
Okay, great, mashallah, thank you.
Law school starts soon, but from now until then, I'm all yours.
Amazing. Thank you.
Absolutely.
By the way, Kokab is my khala's name. I love that name.
Really? Oh, I never used to let people call me that, but now it's like I'm old. Okay, white, nah. Just let's go with Kokab. So
beautiful.
Unless you
This is Abid Ayoub. I'm sorry. Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, welcome.
Thank
We gave you a shout out a little earlier before you joined as our beloved advisor.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. You guys are all doing great work, and it's appreciated. The one issue I want to raise, and I posted this in the chat, which we should start considering, and that's voter protection. And I know, the meetings with the campaigns and so forth, and we could talk about those, but let's not be too invested in them, with our time. I mean, these meetings are, we really don't get much out of them. So I'm not really a fan of them.
Exactly.
I think, and we don't want to marry ourselves to an administration. I mean, we don't want to, I know we want to see Trump out of office in our capacities, but we don't want to be so, married to the Biden administration that when he starts messing up, people are going to look at us as, why'd you guys support him? So, but that's a different conversation. I digress. But the voter protection part of it is very important. I think, what's happening now is you're going to start seeing a number of initiatives, a number of ways that the GOP is going to be challenging voters this fall. It could be voters at polling locations. It's going to be mail-in ballots. It's going to be like complete chaos come November. I know the Biden administration and the DNC, they've already hired thousands of lawyers for legal challenges. But I think where we can come in, if you want that radical approach to this is, if we have attorneys in different cities that say, we want to lead voter protection efforts. Well, how would you do those? Two ways. One, get a group of volunteer attorneys with, from your city, from your town. We can get them through our networks that are going to be committed to volunteering the day of the election and build that roster together. Two ways they can volunteer. One, we send the attorneys out on the ground as poll workers, watchers to areas that are going to have high Muslim or high, voter turnout from our communities, from the, Arab, Muslim, South Asian community. They necessarily don't have to be Muslim, but folks from our community, the Black community, brown communities that are going to be challenged, because we've seen this happen in Dearborn. We've seen this happen elsewhere where, challengers from the other side will come in and they'll intimidate a voter to the point where they say, I don't want to deal with this. So there is a training that will go into it. Some jurisdictions require you to register with the city or the county before you can go in there. As lawyers, who do register, you have the right to be inside the polling location, which is always an advantage. So that's kind of like a quick synopsis of what we could be doing this November that's going to be effective. The other larger route is, there's some corporate law folks in here and big law folks who, can tap into the networks to be part of, these larger legal challenges and providing, if we have 3 to 5 of our attorneys that are part of these challenges that are representing our voice, that would be a good it would, I don't want to say it's symbolic, but it would be a very strong presence for us to have Muslim lawyers that are part of these challenges come November, because there's no way this election is going to finish the night of November 3rd. It's going to be dominated by legal challenges across the country. So, and the one thing I'll end off on is I mean, I don't know, some of you are probably too young to remember the Bush-Gore election in 2000, but George Bush did not win the election because the Supreme Court handed it to him. Bush won the election because Al Gore conceded. Al Gore could have went through and challenged the outcomes in 49 other states and dragged this thing out through for another 6 months. So, is Trump, if he loses, going to be as gracious as Al Gore and going to concede, or will he keep bringing challenge after challenge after challenge? So we know what he would do. We know, and this should send a message to why the lawyers are going to be important, so important this November. If we can mobilize an effort, connect with organizations or entities that are doing this, anything to put our name out there and get our attorneys out there, I think will be time well spent on the elections. And I think it'll be more valuable than meeting with the campaign or, doing things others are doing, because we have folks meeting with the campaign from our community. We have folks doing voter registration. We have folks getting, driving people out to the polls. But where we always lack is this voter protection part. And if you all want to discuss it further, within the next week or two, I'm available at your service. So whatever you need, let me know.
So Abid, would a better way to go about this might be if ADC or Muslim Advocates takes the lead in building a legal kind of team preventatively, and then tapping into our big law attorneys, for pro bono support when the time comes?
Well, the two ways we could do it is, so the big law stuff, I think that is, we could do that. We could work together to put something together, but we would have to tap into existing networks, right? So there's always going to be key people within the DNC, within the Biden campaign, and within state AGs that are going to be handling things that would play a support role. I think the more important role is getting an idea where everybody's located and looking at what the needs are in these cities, like Buffalo, for example, or Cleveland, or, you mentioned Atlanta. I mean, what are the needs that we can be doing in these cities, and how could we mobilize our attorneys working with the local folks on the ground? Because I know in Metro Detroit, for example, getting people into the polling locations will be important. This is the first year where the GOP basically is going to be, free, they're not restrained because of prior lawsuits and so forth. They're going to have the ability to challenge as they please and be as present as they want in different states. So it's going to be an ugly show that day, and it's going to be a lot of chaos. So I think if we find a way to mobilize our activist lawyers, take that day off. I typically do it in Maryland and Virginia. We drive polling location to polling location. We have an 800 number that we work with AAI, Arab American Institute. People call into that number. They call in and say, hey, I have a problem in whatever, Houston. Then we have our roster of attorneys in Houston. We call them, we say, go to this polling location, resolve this issue. There's so much more to it that we can, dive into, but there are a lot of options on what can be done.
Abed, I was wondering if another thing we might go after is getting our community running the polls, because one of the problems that we're going to face in November is that a lot of seniors who are the free labor that run our elections are going to stay home because they're in the target zone for coronavirus. So is that another thing that we need to go after, is try to get our people to be the poll workers?
100%. That's a phenomenal idea. I think, the tricky part about this is every jurisdiction, every district is going to be different. But we're attorneys. I mean, this is where we lend our expertise to the community directly. And, we could figure this stuff out. I mean, it's not going to be rocket science. We figure it out how to do it, tap into the massager, tap into, our local outlets and on the ground and say, hey, give us some of your volunteers to work these polls. So I think that's a phenomenal idea, but I think it's, it leads into what's going to be needed in November and where we could fill a role. I know Muslim Advocates does not do voter protection stuff. CARE does a little bit, but not fully, not entrenched in it. From the Muslim side, I don't know many that do it outside of the patchwork efforts we have, from local groups.
Inshallah, that sounds great. And also, that's, I think Kokab, inshallah, might be leading the statement we're going to be writing on pushing Biden and pushing people to vote. And maybe we can throw in a statement about, like, a sentence or two about that, how the Muslim community can get involved. And we'd love to have your eyes on that statement before, it goes out.
Yes. And sorry, one more, mail-in voting too. Like, I think it's gonna start relatively soon. So if we start putting together the instructions for mail-in voting and early voting, and we get it translated into Arabic or into another language, and pass that out with our with the organization's logo, we'll go a long way as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brother Abed, for coming in and talking to us as
You're
well.
welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Yay, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in and everyone for spending and taking your time out. If you guys need to leave, you guys can head out. And that's our first general body meeting, alhamdulillah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Please recite a